Kumlan and Ablat Gemara. Today's daf is daf Lamed Aleph, and we're up to the bottom of the page. So we are learning a number of cases regarding Chazakah, which is being disputed. So Amar Nachman, about 4 lines from the bottom of the page. About 6 lines. You have 2 people, Reuben and Shimon. Reuben says that this property belonged to my father, and this guy said the property belonged to my father. I say Sadi Dahavase. This person brought witnesses that testified on 2 things. First of all, they said, we know that this property used to belong to Reuben's father, and furthermore, and we're also testifying that he was there for 3 years. 2 things. Yes. And the other one brings Edis, that he was there for 3 years with a claim that it belonged to his father, but he doesn't have witnesses that it belonged to his father. So what do we have here? So do we view them as 2 separate Edison, one that is his father, one is a Chazakah, or it's one Edis? Amar Rav Nachman said this is called Edis Mukheshes. Edis Mukheshes, when you have 2 sets of Edim and contradicting each other. You say yes and they say no, or you say that we don't know where you were, but the person that you're talking about wasn't even there; they were with us, which is not Hazam. Hazam is only if you attack the agent directly and say you weren't there. But here you're saying that the person, the borrower, for example, wasn't there. It's Eidas Mokeshes. We toss like Eidas out. We don't know who to believe. So Nachman says, what we do in this case is Uki Achila Bahadi Achila. You say, well, the part that they say, so they contradict themselves when it comes to the 3 years. Who was in that field for 3 years? So you throw that part of Eidas out, but the other Eidas, which is that the belongs to his father, you accept that. It's like 2 separate Eidas. So therefore, we'll give it to Reuben. I don't understand. Well, the Eidim are completely contradicted, and therefore, because of Eidim Mocheshes, you can't trust these Eidim anymore, anything they said. So why trust them regarding about being the field of his father? Amalei said to him, so he counts back on Nachman, he is Chassid Bachilasa. That's true. The case over here is that one person says the field belonged to my father, and I was the chazak, and he has aid to support that. And the other one says I have ages. This is also my father's, and it's my chazak, but only has ages for the chazak. So Nachman says, fine. Whatever part they talk about, they count each other out, and we leave the ages for that it's his father's, and we give it to Reuben. And Rava says no. Rava says once they're contradicted, they contradict. You don't believe anything they say. So Rav Nachman says, they weren't contradicted on the Edis. We'll treat like 2 different Edis, and we'll trust them for that. So this very machlekes, that Edim that were found contradicted, do we trust them on other things they say? Is the machlekes, which is machlekes in Rav Nachman, is the same machlekes as Rav Chizda and Rav Huna. Rav Nachman put Rav Huna and Chizda to forget. What's the story? We learned Beis Kita Edim. You have 2 groups of Edim and Machizah that contradict each other. Amar Rav Huna says, Zuba b'fnei atzma me'ida, in the future. Okay, they contradict each other, we throw the whole case out. But in the future, each one has a cheskes kashas. We don't know which one Edim are definitely telling the truth, and one set of Edim are telling a lie. We don't know what's what. So we have a cheskes kashas. And because of course each one is cheskes kashas. And since we don't know which one was found to be a liar, so therefore this aid is over here on their own is believed, and this aid is here, they believe. If you have one aid from this group and one aid of this group joined together, then we cannot believe, because we know one of them definitely is a liar. But each of them has a cheskes kashas. Zuba v'na'atzmida, Zuba v'na'atzmida. How can you? The fact is, one of the main. How can you trust him? What exactly is the machlekes is as follows: you have a cheskes kashas versus a cheskes mammon. The people over there, you're trying to say that this guy owes this person money. That person has a cheskes money by him, but you're trying to take it away from him. So Chizah says a cheskes kasha does not override a cheskes mammon. Cheskes mammon is very strong. Possession is 9/10 of the law, and therefore leave money where it is. We don't trust Edim even on their own. The cheskes kashas are saying the Edim are kosher. It's the Edim are taking the money out. So all the cheskes kasha does is it proves that the Edim are, and the Edim take money out. The Rambam paskins that we have a chazakah that this is kosher, this is whatever it is, and then somebody goes ahead and eats it. Then we warn him, you're going to get malchus. We'll give malchus. Why? Because we established that this is treif. Not the reason why he's getting malchus because of the Edis. we have established that it's treif from a chazaka. It's two separate steps. And as far as establishing some kosher treif, we can rely on the chazakas. And once we've established what it is, now it's a separate thing. So this person deserves malchus. They have two eidim that he ate, will get malchus. So the same thing over here. Rabbi Huna says that it's not that the cheskes kasha is taking out the cheskes mammon. The cheskes kasha is establishing the verity of these eidim, and now it's the eidim who are taking out the money. Yeah.
Maybe you've dealt with this in the last few days, but when there's a kosher, do the Aiden lose their cheskes kasher?
That's exactly the machlekes. That's exactly the machlekes. And we didn't learn it before. This is the machlekes. So the Gemara, so l'chayda, Rav Nachman, who says you trust the Aiden still regarding it's the father's property. Rav Nachman holds like Rav Huna. I want that the Eidim believed, that we didn't take away the Chesed Kashas. And Rabbi holds like Rav Chizda that the Eidim can be trusted again, also about the father. Says Gemara, but the Rav Chizda, according to Rav Chizda, clearly says the Eidim are no longer trustworthy. The Kulam Tzigi, there's no argument that the Chizda would hold. In this case, the Eidim who said that it belongs to the father, he won't be trusted because once we knocked him out of court regarding the Shnei Chazaka, we're not going to trust him regarding the father. I'll be keep pligi in Rav Huna itself. Rav Huna says that the Eidim in the future conceals the Eidos. Rav Nachman says, I hold like Rav Huna. The Eidim Chesed Kasher was not eliminated, so therefore, if they say about the father, we'll trust them. The Rava says, no. Ad kan like Rav Huna Eidos le'Eidos achedes. When does Rav Huna say this only regarding another Eidos? In the future, comes a new case, we will trust them. Avala oisa Eidos lie. But in this very same Eidos, we're not going to say that because this is one Eidos. It's the father and it's 3 years. And therefore, because we knocked him out on part of the Eidos, like Eidos should both the mitzvah and both the kula. And then Rav Nachman, I guess, would hold that even though it's one story, it's two separate Eidosim. One Eidos is about the father, and another Eidos is about the Chazaka, and we'll treat us two different Eidosim. And just because they're knocked out regarding the Chazaka doesn't mean we'll be knocked them out regarding the father. But Rav Nachman continued. Then what happened was the story moves on. A short while later, Shimon came along and brought Eidim that it was also his father's. So now you have mamish contradicting each other every step of the way. So, but Rav Nachman paskin before that you give it to Reuben who said that is my father and brought Eidim for that and they have it chazaka. But now we have a problem because Shimon now brought Eidim that was his father, which means you have to toss out the whole Eidos and you take away from Reuben as the Rishonim say called Alam Gava. Now we don't know who to believe in completely. If the question is, will Bezin hear this second testimony? Once Bezin gave a psak that the field goes to Reuven, and now will Bezin undo the psak and go and like an appeal? Will they listen to the appeal and allow Shimon to hear those other Eidim and then maybe take the field away from Reuven? Or do we say once Bezin paskin, they paskin? Because they loosen the Beit Din Chayshinu. We're worried about the image that it gives that Bezin sort of paskin wrong. And this is a little bit hard to understand. So many of the Rishonim say it's only talking about a case which not 100%. Because now we didn't really know 100% then, and now we don't know 100%. So it looks like our first psak was never proper in the first place. That's what happens. The problem is the elusive being is not the second psak, it's the first one. But if it was when we passed in the first time, this is exactly what the halacha demands, and now new circumstances arose, and you brought Eidim something that we didn't anticipate, and now it's clear the other way. Then it's not as Lusa Bedina. You have to follow the halacha. How can Lusa Bedina take away from the halacha that says that the money belongs to somebody else? Others disagree. They say that even in that case, this is Lusa Bedina and Hefker Bez and Hefker. And yes, sometimes it comes at a cost. And because the perception that Bezin knows what they're doing is more important because it's not just for you, it's for Klal Yisrael that they should respect the Bezin. Interesting machlekes. Says about it further. So what happened was Nachman Anan Achtinen Anan Maskinle. No. We will, even in this case, say where the whole thing is sort of questionable, we put the person in, we're going to take the person out. We're not worried about that. We have to follow what the law is. So no, we don't worry about it. Thinking about mostly like Abai didn't let the Beis go, Rabba didn't let Rachman go sometimes. Mostly Rabba asked a question, we came by Abzahira. We had the husband went abroad. Two people come along and say, Mace, the husband died. And therefore, she's a free woman now. She can get married. Two people say didn't die. Two people said that the husband divorced her, and therefore she's a free woman. What do you do? Now, generally, we have a rule that today, If you have 2 against 2, you leave a chazak. Big mistake is exactly what it means. That means that it's only midrabanan or even mahatayda we leave in the chazak. But chayda, she's a cheskes ages. She was married till now. We don't know what happened. The circumstances changed. She should be a married woman. She should be treated like a married woman. She should not have to get married again. So the Gemara says, "Yeah, they look to us." So the Tana says she should not get married. Although the imli sas, but if she did get married, lo say because we don't know what it is. If she got married, she shouldn't go out. And the Gemara there already says it's talking about she married one of the Adim, somebody therefore who knows for a fact, and she also says, I know for a fact that my husband says something that I said, and you have to go. Wondering if she got married, well, what does that change? She might be a married woman, but she married one of the Adim who came forward and said, I know your husband is dead. And she herself has to say, and she herself has to say, we believe that she did her homework because otherwise she knows that the husband comes back. Yeah. So here we're saying you have 2 against 2. And when we say we leave her there, only if she married one of the Adim, and she herself has to be a body that, yes, I'm convinced that my husband is dead. Because she knows that she's in trouble. If the husband comes back, all the new children will be mamzedim, and so she'll take it very seriously. Rabbi Yesi says, Teitze. Rabbi Yesi says, even if she already married, she has to leave her husband. Now depends. When do I say that she has to get out? This man shabo Adim. If Adim came along first and said that your husband died, and then another one said that your husband didn't die, so l'chayli you shouldn't have married. And yet, nevertheless, how she married defied our psak. Okay, we said too bad. You have to get out. But if we paskin for her, that you go ahead and get married, and then came along Adim and said that your husband is still alive, in this case, because she followed the psak, when she married legally, she doesn't have to go out. Now, what's the svara? The svara must be because once bezin paskin, we don't want bezin to reverse the psak. So we see that Menachem Yetzi says we're worried about the Elusa Beidina. And the Chacham are not arguing on this plot. They hope she should have get married and get out in all time. They don't argue about this particular point. So once Bezin Paskin, even though maybe circumstances change, no, at the time Bezin Paskin was only one group of Eidim that said the husband is dead. So Bezin Paskin, go get married. And then another Eidim came. It's not a mistake because we don't know who to say. If there were no Eidim at all, and we, in theory, because it can't pass away, but and they say go marry, and then come along to wait and say your husband is alive. There's no question. You have to get out. Talking about when they bezin paskin, that was the right psak. 2 Aiden came along and said the husband is dead. So we see clearly here that we are not worried that we are worried about Zuz Beidina. So bezin, once you married, stay that way. The Shemari asking, I'm not going to answer, but the interesting question said, what does that do with Lusa Beidina? If it has to do with Lusa Beidina, then even if she didn't get married, once Bezin paskin, you're allowed to get married, then Bezin cannot retract if the vort is a Lusa the Beidina. Obviously, the vort is a different vort altogether. Because, she's turns out to be that maybe she's something married woman and she can't stay married. Nothing to do with a Lusa the Beidina. We're more about the halacha. Anyway, Amalei, Rav Nachman says, "Ano sabri lemevet uvde." Rav Nachman, look, well, you stopped me. I wanted to pass according to my opinion that what we're worried about is the Lusus Beidin. But Hashem de Shviten at Oisher Avanuna, the Surya. You asked me a good question, and so did Avanuna. Surya asked me a good question. I'll step back. Lo yavdin about uvde. I won't follow what my thoughts are, and I'm not going to say anan achtinan anan maskinan. Once I pass him that the field belongs to Reuben, let us stay there. Then the more continues. It's not over yet. Then Abad Uvda. Then a while later, Paskin exactly the same thing. The Lusa the Beidin Leichashinan. And Man the Chazer, one of his Talmidim, saw it, Savad, to Usabiyadim. Nachman forgot this conversation. Nachman initially wanted to say, we're not worried about the pride of the Bezin, you got to do what's right. Then he was asked a question by Rabbi from the Mishnah in Yavamis. So he said, you're right, I'm going to withdraw because we are very worried about the Lusa the Beidin, about the imagery, the optics. And now he sees that Rav Nachman reverted back to his philosophy that we're not worried about the optics. We got to do what's right. So Gemara says, it wasn't a mistake. Rav Nachman later changed his mind again. He depended on Asher expression, meaning thick ropes, on great Tanoim, on great Tamid Chamim, and he relied on them. What's the story? Because he found the Machlekes Tanoim on this very point. It's not. We learned Rabbi Yehuda said, Rabbi Yehuda said that if an Eidecha comes along and says that this person is a Kohen, we will not We will not. If an Eid comes along and says this person is a kohen, we're not going to allow that for Yuchsin. According to the Rashbam, we're talking here about Duchening as well and Truma. So the big machlek is in the beginning of Shulchan Aruch. The Ramah, where they said this only is not a bias because we're having our second kind of mitzvahs that people see this guy Duchening, they're going to assume that also that you can get married and all kinds of problems can happen, and we need proper verification. But the Ramah said B'zman hazeh. Then what is it? Duchening? And there's no truma today. You could rely on Eid Echad. And other Rishonim say, no, you can't. And in Halach as well, you can't rely on Eid Echad. And Yavidu says, Ein man going to be Eid Echad. One Eid comes along and says, this guy's a kohen, it's not good enough. Amar Rabbi Elazar, so now there's a machlekes how to understand Pshat in Rabbi Yehuda itself. Amar Rabbi Elazar says, Ein Masai, Rabbi says, when do we say that? This man, sheyesh, olav oiren. If there is a oiren is not just a rumor. That's called a koil. Oiren means that people are coming along and disputing the facts. And generally, we have a rule: ein pachas mishnayim. That's generally the rule. That when people dispute, it has to be with head and fist. It has to be grounded. It has to have two eidim. So when do we say that if an eid echad comes along and says this guy's a kohen? When don't we believe eid echad? If there was somebody who cast aspersion, two people with an eater. But if nobody questioned it, if this person is a kohen or not, comes along eid echad and said, "Yep, this person is a kohen," then we will. Comes along Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. He says, Mishum Rav Shimon ben Azgan, Mailin lekahuna peidech. That we will occasionally bring up the kahuna up peidech. So what's going on here? What's Hainu Rav Shimon Gamliel? They both say that peidech you will be Mailin. The only time Rav Elazar says you won't is if there's an. And what does Rav Shimon Gamliel say? You can tell me that either chad ike benayit. They're arguing whether if one person casts aspersion, is that called an eater? Is that the machlekes? That Rabbi Elazar saw an eater chad. Rabbi Elazar says oirin. So maybe Rabbi Elazar's machman holds that even if one person questions or disputes the facts, then an eid echad it can no longer be mila. And the Rashbag says no, eater is three. When what do you call it? Rashbag said that only that eater of two is only recognized as an eater. But if there's only one person, then an eid echad is believed. Is that the machlekes? Can be. But Rabbi Yechon said, "Divrei hakel." Everyone agrees. Ein eater pachas mishnayim. We don't take it into consideration. No, but if somebody's been recognized all these years as a kohen, and then one person comes and casts aspersions, disputes that we're not going to take it. We're not going to listen. It's only two people. So what's the machlekes of Elazar Shimon Gamliel? The Gemara is going to reach a conclusion which is going to prove that there's a machlekes tanoim about zilusa the binyadir. The Gemara says follows: Ella either tre. Either has to be two. So what's the case? An interesting case. We assume this guy is a kohen. The nafika left kola. A rumor started. The Ben Grushbek Lutzer, his father the kohen, but he married someone that was illegitimate for him. Married a grusha divorcee, which is not Torah Asur, or a chalutza, which is with Rabbanan Asur, and therefore the kids are chalalim, and they're not allowed to behave like a kohen. They cannot duchen anymore. They don't do sitruma. Va'achtinu. So we demoted him. We removed his kahunaship from this person. So we made a psak, took it away. It sounded like a psak. But also eid echad comes along and eid echad v'amar the kohenu. An eid echad comes along and says, yes, this person is a kohen. This person is a kohen. And they say we know for a fact. So we now brought him back. That already is a loose of the Beidin. If we demoted him and putting him back. So the Shemer explained they didn't demote him as a psak. They said, look, why do we suspend you for the time being until we verify one way or another. So we're not asking. So we're just saying stay aside. Don't behave like a kohen till exactly. So it's not a psak. But also Beitrei, now two people came along and says, the Ben Gerusha the Chalutza. Now two people came along. But Achtinu, we had no breda here because even though we said before we worried about Zelusa, this is not called Zelusa Beitina when the circumstances have changed. The halach is that 2 eidim, completely reject what 1/8 or repudiate what 1/8 says. Okay. So we then decided we demoted him again. But this time there's a psak. The paskin he cannot behave as a kohen. But then but also eid echad, another eid came along to support the first eid. So 1/8 said kohen, came along 2 eidim and said not kohen. Then the third stage was another eid came along, and if you combine the first and third, it's 2 against 2. What do you do? But Ahmad the kohen, And right now we're making an assumption that everyone agrees Mistar for Adis. You don't have to stand together in court to give Adis, even if one person comes. One beginning, one go later, it's a crime, because we'll see later Machlekes tonight. But right now, they want to assume that everybody agrees. Now, what? That you can combine Adis. They don't have to stand in court together. Because the main, as Faces in Marcus above there explains, the main Adis is what you saw. That's the Adis, because you saw something. Of us, you have to come to court to tell us what you saw. So they became Adim when they saw it. So they were together. I, the Haggadah, they're repeating it. They're repeating the Adis here. It wasn't at the same time. It doesn't matter. It's not two Adim. It's one group, because they saw the seeing combined the two together. It's only by false Adim that we say they never saw anything. It's above Maisa. So then the only time they consider Adim is that they say it together. And therefore, if you makfish them or whatever, mazim them, it's only those who came together in court, because that's where the Adis began, because the whole thing's above Maisa. But if they really saw something, then they just started back then. That's the view the Gemara has right now. So what's the machlekes then? The meichish was elusive the beitik. So when they both say an eid echad came either the chad, we're talking about this is the second eid. Either the chad is 1, 2, now 1. So when they talk about either the chad, they're talking about the second eid, and that's the machlekes. The meichish was elusive beitik. That's what we're arguing. Ablezer holds even the achtina. Once we passed him, 280 came along and said this guy's not a kohen, and we demoted him. We cannot reinstate him. We're worried about the imagery of what a bezin is. Comes along a Shingam Lil and he says no. Anan, Achtinan, the Banan Maskinan, and in this case, we're not worried about the optics. We're not worried about the optics. Because here it's a clear cut case that now that you have two Eidim, we go, and what do you do today? You go after the Chazakah. Now, what is the chazakah? Interesting. So Taisus learned the chazakah because his father was a kohen, and because the chazakah his father was a kohen, and then Taisus has a lot of problems with Gemara and Kitsu, up above there, and other places where it seems that the mother's chazakah doesn't help for the child. How do we reconcile two Gemaras? But interesting, the Rashbam adds one in one word, and he was growing up as a kohen. So the chazakah that we're falling back on is not the father's chazakah; it's his own chazakah. Because he, till that age came along, until the rumor started, he was behaving like a kohen. So which is very different than Yanai over there with his mother when she was kidnapped. They accused Yanai of being that even though he was a kohen, he had no right to be a kohen gadol or kohen because his mother was kidnapped. Probably, something happened there. So Rab Nachman said, you see, machlekes tanoim, and I therefore am not worried about the elusive beidina because I follow Rab Shimon ben Gamliel, which is halacha. Maskal Ravashi says, in this case, I don't think your pshat is right. Because if so, if the whole Nekuda here is the lucid Beinina, just say 2 against 2. Why such a modern case? 1 and 2, then 1. What would be the other way? Just a simple, straightforward case. 2 people came and said this guy is not a kohen. 2 people came along and said the guy is a kohen. And what's the din? And the din is that we threw the uka chazaka. Same thing. Why talk about such a rare case where we have 1, then 2, then 1? Obviously, it's a different Nekuda here altogether. Ravashi says, everyone agrees we're not worried about the Zulus of the big din. And what they're arguing about? Whether it's not enough that they saw. In other words, is the pshat that they became Eidim when they saw, and coming to Bezin is just telling us what they saw, or the pshat they are Eidim from the time they saw until they finish the Eidus, which is when they come into Bezin. And the nafkamina is, do they have to give their testimony together? If you learn that the entire Eidus happened when they saw, we just need to know what they have to reveal to us, what they saw. So then it doesn't matter when they come to give the Haggadah, when they come to court, they have to be together. But if you learn that the pshat of Eidus says it starts when they saw, but it still continues on until they come into Bezin, it's one story, and this is part of the Eidus, not just telling us what they saw, but this is part of the Eidus. So then they are only Eidim when they come together. Because you need a Shnayim Eidim. They're not the Eidim that come separately. And that's the machlekes there, whether you combine the first and third. The hocha b'letzad of Eidus kemiflagi. Whether you combine the first and third. Ubeplukta dahani tanoim. And this is the machlekes. So the first part of the brayso is irrelevant here, but it's all one brayso, so we're bringing the Tanya Bilit. La'elam really ain't Eidus and mitzvah. The Eidus do not combine. Achi Yiddish name kechet. The Eidim have to see the halva together. If they say Reuben lent Shimon $100, the 2 Eidim who saw it had to see that particular event. If they didn't both see the same event, how can they be mitzvah as Eidus? That's opinion number one. Nothing to do with our Gemara here, but this is the beginning of Raisa. Rabbi Shua ben Korcha says, "Afilu b'ze'achazeh." If one aide saw Reuven lend money to Shimon $100 on Sunday, the other aide saw Reuven lend Shimon another $100 on Monday. They're both saying a similar story, even though they didn't see exactly the same story. They can combine. We had this in Gittin explain a bit more, but that's not relevant talking about it. So then, then Bryce continues, which is relevant to us. Ein edusim is kayemes bebezin. They will not be considered edus in a bezin. Ad she'idu shneim ke'echad. They both have to front up to the bezin together in unison in order to be edus. Because edus starts when they see, but it finishes when they come to bezin. They have to be one pair of edim. Rab Nosson says, no, forget that. That's nothing to do with this. We're talking about the same thing, exactly the same thing, but in order to be edus, you have to be together. What's tied together? Not just when they saw, but also when they came into bezin. Rab Nosson says, no. They don't have to say it together because he said the edus happened when they saw. Coming to cause merely revealing to us. So therefore this machlekes of Rabbi Losh and Gamliel, either the chad is talking about the second chad, and the argument is that chad considered part of the start of the first one, therefore it's 2 against 2, and we'll go back to chazak and therefore mailin, which is Rosh and Gamliel, or do we say no? That this chad and the other chad are 2 separate edison, therefore it's only 1, and 1 against 2. There's no edison, therefore the guy is no longer a kohen. Nothing to do with Rav Nachman's case, but nevertheless, Rav Nachman passed that's halacha. That is elusive in the Chashina, and he does his thing there. Anyway,